And the next type of analysis is ultimate analysis of truth. So we have seen now what is the use of ultimate analysis. Ultimate analysis is especially using to find out the percentages of elements in the full sample. So by using ultimate analysis, we are going to find out the percentage of carbon and hydrogen, percentage of oxygen, percentage of sulfur, and the percentage of nitrogen. So let us see one by one. In the first step, we are going to find out the percentage of carbon and the percentage of hydrogen. So to find out the percentage of carbon and the percentage of hydrogen, initially we are taking 1 to 2 grams of coal sample in the combustion chamber. So 1 to 2 grams of coal sample is placing or burning in the combustion chamber. So just let us assume this is one of the combustion chamber. So initially we are burning around 1 to 2 grams of coal sample is burning in the combustion chamber. So what is mean by the combustion? Combustion is nothing but burning in the presence of oxygen. So here carbon and hydrogen, these are having more combustion capacity. So immediately carbon and hydrogen, these two are undergo combustion. So when carbon undergo combustion, that means when carbon burns with oxygen, what we will get? We will get the carbon dioxide. So when hydrogen is on combustion, that means when hydrogen is reacting with oxygen or burning with oxygen, water vapor is producing. That means water releasing in the combustion chamber when 1 to 2 grams of coal sample is burning in the combustion chamber. Carbon is converts to carbon dioxide and hydrogen is converts to the water. So now what is our aim? We have to find out how much amount of carbon is present in the carbon dioxide and how much amount of hydrogen present in the water sample. So if you find out the amount, we can find out the percentage of carbon and the percentage of hydrogen. So here, this carbon dioxide and water molecules are finding by sending these two in the two different bulbs. So here we are using two tubes or two bulbs. The first tube is filling with the potassium hydroxide and whereas the second tube is filling with the calcium chloride. So what is the nature of a potassium hydroxide? This is calcium chloride. So the two tubes are filling with potassium hydroxide and the calcium chloride. So what is the nature of potassium hydroxide? Potassium hydroxide is absorbing all the carbon dioxide to it. Whereas the calcium chloride, it is absorbing all the water molecule or water vapor released in the combustion chamber. So initially the potassium hydroxide tube or bulb weight was less because it was not absorbed by the carbon dioxide. But after absorbed by the carbon dioxide, the potassium hydroxide bulb weight is increased. So by increase in the weight of potassium hydroxide, we can find out the percentage of carbon by knowing the amount of carbon dioxide. Same in the case of percentage of hydrogen also, because water molecule is absorbed by the calcium chloride bulb. That is the nature of calcium chloride. So when the calcium chloride is absorbed by the water, calcium chloride weight also increase same like the potassium hydroxide. So here by increase in the weight of calcium chloride, we can find a percentage of hydrogen from the water molecule amount. So let us see how to find out the percentage of carbon and percentage of hydrogen. Just let us read out once. About 1 to 2 grams of accurately weighed coal sample is burnt in a current of oxygen in a combustion operator. Carbon and hydrogen of the coal are converted into carbon dioxide and water respectively. And the gaseous products, what are the gaseous products here? Carbon dioxide and the water vapor. These gaseous products are absorbed respectively in the potassium hydroxide and the calcium chloride. So what potassium hydroxide is absorbing? It is absorbing the carbon dioxide and whereas the calcium chloride is absorbed by the water molecule. So the increase in the weight of these are then determined. So why we are finding the increase in the weight? Because the two are absorbed by the carbon dioxide and water molecule. If you know the weights of these bulbs, we can find out carbon and hydrogen percentage. So let us see what is the formula to find out the percentage of carbon. Percentage of carbon. How carbon is going to find out? By using carbon dioxide. But where carbon dioxide is? Carbon dioxide is in the potassium hydroxide bulb. So here how we are going to find out percentage of carbon? By increase in the weight of potassium hydroxide bulb divided by weight of coal sample taken initially. Weight of coal sample taken initially into carbon atomic weight divided by carbon dioxide molecular weight. Because we are not going to find out carbon directly. We are finding by using carbon dioxide. Carbon is finding by using carbon dioxide. So carbon atomic weight divided by carbon dioxide molecular weight. What is carbon atomic weight? Carbon atomic weight is 12 and carbon dioxide molecular weight is 44 into 100 for percentage. So what is the formula percentage of carbon? Increase in the weight of potassium hydroxide cube divided by weight of coal sample taken into 12 divided by 44 into 100. Here 12 is carbon atomic weight and 44 is carbon dioxide molecular weight. Now the next formula for percentage of hydrogen is increase in the weight of calcium chloride cube. Because why we are writing here? Because the water molecule which have hydrogen is absorbed by the calcium chloride. So increase in the weight of calcium chloride cube divided by weight of coal sample taken into hydrogen atomic weight divided by water molecular weight. Hydrogen atomic weight is nearly 1 point something, but we are considering hydrogen molecular weight instead of the hydrogen atomic weight because it is unstable. So we are taking the stable molecular weight 2 by 18 into 100. So these are the formulas of carbon and hydrogen, percentage of carbon and the hydrogen. The next one, the significance of ultimate analysis. That means significance of carbon and hydrogen. Now we have seen how to determine carbon and hydrogen in the combustion chamber. So now let us see what is the significance of carbon and the hydrogen. So now you can say what is the significance from proximate analysis. We have seen in the proximate analysis that what is the desired quality of the good coal sample. Yes, so for the best quality of coal sample, carbon and hydrogen content. Carbon content should be more, but hydrogen content should be less. But why? Why the carbon content should be more and hydrogen content should be less? Because carbon is increasing the calorific value of the coal sample, but whereas the hydrogen is not increasing the calorific value of coal sample. So carbon must be high in the good quality of coal and hydrogen should be less in the good quality of coal sample. So that is the significance of carbon and the hydrogen. So now let us see the important one, how to find out the nitrogen. Yes, how to find out the nitrogen in the coal sample. So this method is also called as a Jaldal method because we are using one of the flask. The name of the flask is the Jaldal flask. So by using Jaldal flask, we are going to find out the percentage of nitrogen. So how the Jaldal flask is? Jaldal flask is similar to the standard flask. So whatever the flask we are using in the chemistry laboratory, that is the standard flask. Similar to that, we are having the Jaldal flask, but the Jaldal flask is having the narrow neck and long neck, and it is not having the flat bottom like our standard flask. like this we are having the Jaldal flask. So initially about 1 gram of accurately weighed powdered coal sample is heated with concentrated sulfuric acid along with potassium sulfate in a long necked flask. This is a long neck flask. So what we are doing initially we are taking 1 gram of the coal sample in the Jaldal flask and placing sulfuric acid and the potassium sulfate. Here we are using the two solutions. One of the solution is acting as a solvent, one of the chemical is acting as a solvent, and another chemical is acting as a catalyst. So which one is acting as a solvent here? Sulfuric acid is acting as a solvent, and whereas potassium sulfate is acting as a solvent. And what is the use of solvent? To increase the speed of the reaction. Yes. So here the nitrogen in the coal sample is reacting with the sulfuric acid. So after the solution becomes clear, it is treated with the excess of potassium hydroxide. So when you add potassium sulfate and the hydrogen, that is sulfuric acid, the entire solution will be clear. This clear solution will be treated with a potassium hydroxide base. And when it is treating with the potassium hydroxide, when the clear solution is treated with the potassium hydroxide, the nitrogen in the coal sample is converted to the ammonia. It is converts to the ammonia. And this ammonia is distilled over and absorbed in a known volume of standard acid solution. So what we are doing here, whatever the ammonia solution is released here, that ammonia solution is sending to a round bottom flask, and which it contains the known concentration of the solution. That means the released ammonia is sending to the standard solution, standard acid solution. What is meant by the standard acid? The known concentration of the acid is known as a standard acid. So this ammonia is sending to the standard solution of the acid, around 1 liter of the acid. So when ammonia is sending to 1 liter of the standard acid, it is reacting with certain volume of the acid, and remaining volume is not reacting with the solution. That means only this part is reacting with the ammonia and this part is not reacting with the ammonia. So this is used with the ammonia and this is not used with the ammonia. So now which solution is having the nitrogen, whether this or this one is having the nitrogen. So by knowing the quantity or by knowing the solution, we can find out the percentage of nitrogen. So by using used volume of acid, we can find out percentage of nitrogen. So the formula for percentage of nitrogen is equals to volume of acid used divided by weight of coal sample taken into 14 divided by 1000 into 100. So here by mistake we got 1.4 here. So here there is no 1.4 percentage of nitrogen. So percentage of nitrogen is equals to volume of acid used into normality of acid divided by weight of coal sample taken into 14 divided by 1000 into 100. What is 14 here? 14 is the nitrogen molecular weight. And what is 1000 here? 1000 is total volume of acid in the round bottom flask. And here 100 is for percentage. And volume of acid, how much, whatever the amount is used here, that we have to substitute here. And normality is nothing but the concentration. Yes. So whatever the concentration we are using, whether 0.1 or 0.2 or 0.3, whatever the concentration we are using, that we have to substitute in this formula to find out percentage of nitrogen. So this is about percentage of nitrogen. So now let us see the significance of percentage of nitrogen. So nitrogen has zero calorific value. It is not having any calorific value, and hence its presence in coal sample is undesirable. That means the presence of nitrogen in the coal sample is undesirable. So thus a good quality of coal should have very little amount of the nitrogen content. That is about the significance of nitrogen. And the next one, determination of sulfur. So how to determine the sulfur? So generally the sulfur is going to find out during finding calorific value or during calculating calorific value in the bomb calorimeter. So bomb calorimeter is one of the equipment. So just let us assume this is the equipment, this is bomb calorimeter. So this is bomb calorimeter. Just let us assume this is the bomb calorimeter. And why we are using calorimeter? We are using calorimeter. Calorimeter is using to find out calorific value of the fuel. So that is the use of calorimeter. Calorimeter is used to find out the calorific value. So during finding calorific value in the bomb calorimeter, the name of the calorific value is bomb calorimeter. So this bomb calorimeter, we are going to find out the sulfur. So during this treatment, the coal sample is treated with the barium compound. So it is treated with the barium chloride, BaCl2. So what we are doing during finding calorific value in the bomb calorimeter, the coal sample is treated with the barium chloride. But coal sample is having sulfur. The sulfur is having more reactivity towards the barium chloride. The remaining elements are not having reactivity with barium chloride, but the sulfur is having more reactivity towards the barium chloride. So the sulfur in the sulfur in the coal sample is react with the barium chloride to converts to barium sulfate precipitate. It is converts to precipitate. How the precipitate is? The precipitate is looking like a powder, but which is there at the bottom of the container or bottom of the liquid. So what we have to do? We have to find out the weight of the precipitate. What is the use of finding the weight of the precipitate? Because this barium sulfate is containing sulfur. If you know the weight of this, we can find out percentage of sulfur. So by filtration, initially it is in the form of paste at the bottom of the solution. So what we have to do? We have to filter in the filter paper. Just let us assume this is the filter paper. This PPT, this precipitate is collected in the filter paper. So what is this precipitate? This precipitate is the barium sulfate. This precipitate, initially it was wet. This wet barium precipitate, barium sulfate precipitate is dried and weighed. After taking the weight of the barium sulfate, we can find out percentage of sulfur. So percentage of sulfur is equals to weight of barium sulfate precipitate divided by weight of coal sample taken into 32 by 233. What is 32 here? Sulfur atomic weight is 32. 233 is the barium sulfate molecular weight. 32 by 233 into 100. That is about percentage of sulfur. So in this way, we are going to find out the percentage of sulfur. So next, let us see the significance of sulfur. So simply, I will tell what is the significance of sulfur. Sulfur is one of the harmful compounds. So it is polluting the environment by releasing oxides of sulfur. So what are the oxides of sulfur? When the sulfur is reacting with oxygen, when sulfur is reacting with oxygen, we will get so many oxides of sulfur. So we are getting oxides of sulfur, SOx. These oxides of sulfurs are very, very harmful because these are reacting with the moisture in the environment and producing the acids. So it is releasing or it is converting acidic environment and it is polluting the environment. So the presence of sulfur is harmful in the fuel or in the coal sample. So sulfur presence also undesirable in the coal sample. So just let us read out. Although contributes to the heating value of coal, it on combustion products acids which have harmful effects of corroding the equipment and also cause atmospheric pollution. So because of the formation of these oxides, there is atmospheric pollution leads. So sulfur is usually present to the extent of 0.5 to 3% and derived from ores like iron, pyrites, gypsum, etc. mined along with the coal. So presence of sulfur is highly undesirable in coal to be used for making coke for iron industry. So since it is transferred to the iron metal and badly affects the quality and properties of the steel. So moreover, oxides of sulfur pollute the atmosphere and leads to corrosion. So simply, sulfur presence is undesirable in the coal sample because it is polluting the environment. So the next one, ash. So we are not going to find out the ash. And the last one is the oxygen. So already we found a carbon, hydrogen, sulfur, and the nitrogen. And the last one is the oxygen. So oxygen is obtained same like the fixed carbon in the proximate analysis. How we have calculated the fixed carbon in the proximate analysis? By subtracting the total with the sum of the elements. Same here, oxygen is obtained by subtracting total with the sum of the remaining elements. What is the total? Total is generally in the percentage 100 minus percentage of carbon plus hydrogen plus sulfur plus nitrogen and also ash. Yes. So here how we are going to find out the ash in the ultimate analysis, same like the proximate analysis. How we found the ash in the proximate analysis? We kept the coal sample in the silica crucible in the oven, that is muffle furnace, and maintain the temperature of 700 plus or minus 20 degrees centigrade for 30 minutes. So after that, we are repeating this process, that is heating and cooling, heating and cooling. By that, we can find out the percentage of ash. So how we are going to find out the percentage of ash? Until it gets the constant weight, we are repeating this process to find out the percentage of ash. So this is about ultimate analysis of coal and its significance. So remaining we'll see in the next class. Thank you so much.